Hey guys, what's up? Hope you're doing well. Love ya. And I've been watching this show called My Mister, which I found because I'd heard so much about K-dramas, Korean dramas, and I never watched one entirely. Of course, everyone knows about Squid Games, which I was the first to recognize. I'm pretty good at recognizing if a show is going to be good just from the trailer. And so as soon as I saw it, I'm like, this is going to be good. And I was correct. The other show that's really good that I remember thinking that about was Louis, which is a show by the comedian Louis C.K., which sadly no one streams anymore because he had a incident, let's say, if you don't know about that. Anyway, back to the point. South Korea, famous for these K-dramas, Korean series. And so I looked up, I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to try to find the best one. What's the best one? And I looked on reviews from real people, not just like, here's the list of the best ones by some sort of, blog where they just find popular shows and throw them in a list or something. From actual people, it seemed that many people on Reddit, which is sometimes a great website, sometimes terrible, many of them said that this show was their favorite and was the best one, so I checked it out. Get to the point, Caleb. Okay, I'm at the 8th episode now. I was going to talk about this earlier, but I think it's pretty good. I think it's like about halfway, maybe just before halfway through the season, the whole thing. I think there's like 18 episodes, which is weird because I feel like I'm not sure how they can extend it. It seems, that's one thing I would say about the show. Sometimes it seems a little slow. It seems a little dragged out. It's not the worst thing in the world, but that's a little mark against it. I would say it's a little too unrealistic for my liking. It seems that they'll just show like a street and then the two main characters, or some of the main characters will just happen to be crossing at the same point. It's like, really? Come on. Now, there are a lot of instances where one of the main characters, a girl, runs into the main character, a guy, because she is, well, I don't want to give it away, but she basically can tell where he is. But apart from that, there is a lot of instances where they just happen to run into each other when it's like, all right, I'm pretty sure it's based in Seoul, Korea, and I know it's a pretty big place, and even if they live in the same neighborhood, I still feel like it's quite rare for that to happen, constantly be running into each other. And it's not just the main two. The other characters happen to bump into each other, or the main character and like a smaller character. It happens to work dramatically well with the show, coincidentally. So I feel like that pulls me out of it a little bit. But anyway, let's get to the positives. I think probably the greatest thing about this show is that it seems to be philosophically quite good, generally. The main character seems to be trying to do good things, at least generally trying, or certain things I question. He seems to be going through ends justify the means occasionally, but it seems like he's trying to do the right thing, and very often going above and beyond what would be expected of someone, doing really generous, good things. I love the quotes, some of the quotes. One that stood out to me in particular, which I think people should really come to realize more, is from the girl main character, co-main character, I'm not sure. She said, it's easy to be good, I'm going to paraphrase here, it's easy to be good when your life is not that hard, or when your life is in order. And I think that's very true. I know that I learned that in areas without much hope, there's more crime. In areas where people feel distraught and there's a lot of poverty, there's more crime. People are, in general, more likely to steal if they're starving to feed themselves, right? So people who are in need, more likely to commit crime. It's kind of an interesting part recently, I think in the last episode, this weird situation with this girl and a director, and she was saying that she likes failures because she said they seem happy, but I think what she meant was they seem to be able to continue in life, whereas I might have gotten this part not totally right, but she seemed to at least be at a down point in her life, sort of, and be very miserable and just in the depth of depression. And just seeing this guy who had failed completely seemed to pull her out of it. It was a weird thing. I think it was she had some success, but for some reason she had recently been feeling down, like she kept throwing up and she couldn't basically function in life. She was so depressed and in misery. One thing that stands out to me, and I know they probably overdo it a little, but I've heard of weird, cultural norms in South Korea, weird practices, such as using certain words to address certain people, who are older than you or younger than you or in certain situations. And I didn't know that they do the bowing that Japan is famous for. There's a lot of bowing, and there was if the CEO comes, you have to let him go in the elevator before you. Just really stupid things like that. To me, it seems so stupid. I understand people have a tendency to do that and kind of go out of their way for somebody who might be, a manager or something like that. But good leaders put others before them. And that doesn't seem to be the culture in South Korea. Of course, there's bad leaders everywhere, but it seems to be ingrained in the culture. And again, I'm not sure how normal that is. I think it is fairly normal, that specific part. Referring to people by certain names based on how higher up in the company they are, and then certain names based on their age compared to them. And then also they seem to refer to each other by their position. So they say CEO Johnson or whatever, which it would be really weird. Occasionally you say that in America. You might be like, hey, Manager Thomas or something like that. I don't know, but we'd usually just refer to a person by either their first name or their last name, Mr. Johnson, or else just, Jake, whatever. I'm not totally to one side of it. I'm not oh, we need to not have any sort of niceties. I lived in Brazil for a while. They wouldn't really say thank you very much, and they would kind of tell people what to do, which to me seems extremely rude. So I think you should always ask people for something, and then when they do something for you or give you something, say thank you. I think most people would agree with that. I don't know. I think it's a little extreme or kind of weird to have these names. I think that makes it seem as though someone is inherently better or above you or below you, whereas I don't like that. I like seeing everyone as equal. I'm not saying don't respect people. I think you should have equal respect for everyone. That's basically what I think. Someone disagrees, that's fine, but that's what I think. Also, there was a scene in a sort of bar, restaurant type place. Oh, that's another thing, is drinking. I know South Korea is actually, if people don't know, drinks the most per capita out of any country, even Russia. They drink far more than Russians do. They drink far more than anyone, which is so crazy to me and seems can be quite detrimental to health. I would never want to go out drinking with people at work unless I really knew them well. I don't really drink that much anyway, very rarely. But I certainly wouldn't want to go drinking out with somebody who's like a manager unless I really had a almost familial type relationship with them. But I heard that it's very common in Korea, and that reflects in the show. So one time they went out all eating and drinking together, And there's this guy who's like right under the CEO who told everybody like say hi to the CEO when he came in and like don't eat before the CEO. And then he told this guy to go in this other room where the higher ups of the company were at, which was really weird because there was a little table on the ground, so they had to sit on the ground where everybody else had a chair. In America, if you put somebody on the ground to sit down, that would be so insulting, and everybody would want to. Most people want to sit in chairs, so it's very different. But I know that's more common in Asian cultures. I was just surprised that like people would prefer to not be in a chair. I don't know. Okay. Then, and again, I think this is a little extreme, but people put their glasses up, and then the guy who's like second in command said, "How dare you all put your glasses up higher than the CEO?" She's like, come on, this is really ridiculous now. So people had to they had their glasses here, and then they put them down like this, and it's like, dude, what? Are we living in the modern age, or are we living in some sort of bizarre universe? Who cares when you hold up the glass? Really? Again, I'm going to repeat myself. I think it was extreme. I think that's probably very uncommon in South Korea. I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know. There is sort of a strange dynamic in the show in that this guy who's younger is the CEO. He's younger than a few of the people who work under him, which happens, of course, everywhere, but that seems so crazy to... I was a manager for some people older than me, and I would just talk to them completely normally as I would everyone else. I wouldn't force them to address me a certain way. I tried to treat everyone the same. To me, that seems the best way to go. Having said that, the storytelling is pretty good. Acting's pretty good. One other thing is they kept making a big deal about like the ages of some characters. And it's weird for me because I'm not generally good at guessing people's ages, and especially Asian people's ages. I don't know. And it seems weird because you would think you're looking right at them, you should know. I worked for a Chinese family for a while, and they invited me to have the Lunar New Year dinner with them, which was very nice. But there were 3 sons, and they asked me to pick who was the oldest, who was the middle, and who was the last. And I totally messed it up. I picked like the youngest as the oldest, and then I think I switched the other 2. They were really excited and like happy for me to like guess what the order was, and then when I said it, they seemed like all kind of quiet, like I did something wrong, but they forced me. I told them ahead of time too. I was like, no, I don't know. I'm not gonna. I can't do this. No. But they're like, dude, just guess. And then they acted like I was insulting, but they asked me to. Anyway, my point being is, they say this one woman is like real old, and I'm like, I don't know, she doesn't look that old. And then they're saying one of the main characters, this girl, is really young. I'm like, I don't know, she doesn't look that young. Now, having said that, turns out the girl's around my age, the main character, but they make her seem like 5 years younger. Her age in the show is younger, so I was kind of right, actually, that it wasn't that crazy as they make it seem. But I don't know, I couldn't have guessed the guy's age too. If they would have told me he was 25 or something, I would have been like, okay, I don't know. The main character. Turns out he was like 50, so yeah. The cinematography is decent. It's kind of a dulled show. It's not like real colorful, like K-poppy in your face. And it doesn't have to be in your face. That can be good itself when it's kind of like dark, and I think it reflects more the tone of the show, so it makes sense. I'm not saying it needs to be all flashy in your face. I'm curious to see how they pull it out. Apparently the show gets better and better, and like the last episode is the highest rated, so that'd be cool. I'm excited to see how that goes. And yeah, I think I would recommend it. To me, it seems like a little bit of a sort of Korean version of The Catcher in the Rye, which, if you don't know, is one of the most famous American books ever. It's read by many high school, middle school students in America. It's often like a required reading. It kind of shows depression when, especially in that point in America, when it was written, people didn't really talk about that or didn't really consider it. So those people were really in the dark, whoever was like depressed or down, and kind of looking for something to fill that void. I feel like it's a little similar here. I mean, it's not tackling the exact same issue, but it's definitely like kind of this darker color, sort of depressive type of issues and sadness and dealing with hardships and kind of trying to move on and trying to get out of it. So, a lot of things are like that, but it just sounds kind of boring when you describe it, but it's interesting when you watch it. Having said that, this plot isn't itself boring. It is kind of interesting. This guy gets framed, and then this girl sort of was like helping him out. So right off the bat, it's actually kind of interesting. To me, it seems sort of tied with The Catcher in the Rye in that it just has a similar feeling, I guess. If you're interested, I'd say check it out. I found it for free. You can stream it for free with Viki.com, Viki.com, if you're in America, I think. So yeah, love you. Take care. If you've seen it, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching this. If you would comment and like and subscribe, that'd be cool. If not, that's fine. Take care.